Hi folks, this arrived in today's post, and if it is what I think it is, I'm just super excited that it's arrived. So let's not waste any time. Let's open up this package and take a look at what's inside. I just want to make sure I'm not cutting through anything too critical here. Doesn't look like it. And inside we have a box, a Freeway Pro. So let's just take a quick look at what this is. Incidentally, I have earthed myself before opening all of this up. And at the center of all this bubble wrap in an anti-static bag, look at that, how wonderful is that? Let's just tear that off. Is what we want to look at here. So that is a rather beautiful Freeway Pro card for the Amiga. So you might be wondering, what actually is a Freeway Pro card? And what this does is to add USB to Amigas with Zorro slots. So you might immediately ask the question, well, hang on a minute, we can do that already, can't we? And yes, you can. There have been several different solutions for the Amiga to provide USB, but this is new, at least new to me, and provides 3 USB ports. So we've got a double USB socket here, and then a single socket here just to plug in maybe a memory stick or something directly into the card. Plug that into the Zorro slot on the big box Amiga. This is a modern creation by a user called Mattymuc on the website a1k.org. And is similar to a card produced by E3B called the Al Gore Pro, which had similar USB ports on it. Uses, in fact, the same chipset as the Al Gore Pro card. The other advantage of it is that it comes with 1 megabyte of flash ROM on the card, and that will be super useful for putting some modules on there so that you can either boot straight off a USB thumb drive, for example, or ROM modules to modify what comes on the Kickstart ROM on the Amiga. And that's one use that I want to put this card to. How fast does it go? I mean, E3B, for example, also produced the Deneb card, which could do DMA. This card won't be as capable of that as that. It, according to the creator, could do something like 1.3 megabytes per second with a fair wind. So that's pretty quick for an Amiga. I mean, of course, as I said before, it's not the only USB solution out there, but I thought I would give this a go, particularly because of the flash ROM that's on it. One other thing to say about this, as I said, produced and created by a user on a1k.org. By the way, if you go searching on a1k.org, I think that the sale threads on that website are only visible if you have sufficient posts on A1K of your own. You've sort of been using that site enough to open up the sale thread. So if you just go searching there, you may not immediately see that on the site. But if you do get through to the sales thread, then what you'll find is that actually these cards come as kits. The USB chip, which I think is this central one here, is pre-soldered because that is really so tiny, but otherwise it comes as a kit of parts. Luckily enough, a user on the Discord channel RMC Retro called Pillock very kindly agreed to solder up this kit for me for the Freeway Pro, so I've got a pre-assembled one. Just want to say super thank you to Pillock for doing that soldering. My soldering is definitely not up to the detail required, the ability required to do all this fine surface mount soldering. So super thanks to Pillock for doing this for me. I think that's enough about the card itself. Let's talk about how I plan to use it. So this is the machine that is going to be the host for our Freeway card, and it's a rather beautiful A3000T. What's in here? Well, you've got the motherboard at the back here that you can see. Just about visible is the end of the CPU card, which is an Apollo 4060, sort of running up in this direction vertically. And we'll come back to that in a minute, because that plays an important part in why I want to use the Freeway card in this machine. But you probably also noticed down here I've got a mediator in this machine, and that might well be making you think, why on earth do you want to put a Freeway USB card in here when the mediator can take a regular PCI USB adapter, something like this, could slot straight into the PCI slots there and be used. And yes, I could. That works very well, incidentally. Two reasons why I might not want to go that route, and I don't with this machine. The first one is, well, of course, you may not have a mediator at all, so the option's not available to you. But the other thing is that, as far as I know, the USB device for the mediator has some limitations, and I think the one that is most likely to be of relevance is the fact that I don't think it can stream sounds via USB. So you can't use one of those cheap plug-in USB to speaker adapters, sort of 5.1, 6.1 speaker adapters through USB. I don't think that works on the mediator USB, but I am hoping that works on the Freeway. I think the device driver there does support that. Anyway, idea is just shove the Freeway card into one of these lovely Zorro slots and run it out the back, and I've got a USB connection. But that's not all. The other reason I'm particularly wanting to get the Freeway card to work in this machine is back to the CPU card that I have in here, the Apollo. And it is actually really very fiddly to set up an Apollo to work in an A3000T, or for that matter, an A3000. Now, why do I say that? Well, you have to get a certain number of things exactly right. Just very briefly on those. First of all, you need a special cable that fits to the SCSI chip socket and the ROM socket. What that is doing, as far as I can make out, is changing where the A0, the address line 0 signal for the SCSI chip is connected to. On a normal A3000T or A3000, that's connected to the A1 line, the address 1 line from the CPU. But what this adapter does is to switch that back to A0. Now, don't ask me why it does that. That is just a necessary requirement for using the Apollo at all. The second thing I discovered in trying to get it set up on this machine is the fact that you need to have a certain ROM in it for it to boot at all. And actually, after a lot of searching around, I found some really interesting information in the documentation for the program Remus. So Remus is the utility that allows you to break down a Kickstart ROM into the individual modules. And what the Remus docs say is that the firmware on the Apollo specifically checks for a V37.175 or a V40.68 ROM and does some magic patching. So it is actually checking for, if you like, a standard issue ROM up to 3.1 ROM, and tries to, well, I think what it does is copy that into RAM and then patches that ROM. And if it doesn't find one of those two versions of the ROM, actually, I don't think the machine boots at all. So you have to have, in my words, a vanilla ROM for the thing to boot. The final thing I would also note is that if you want to use more up-to-date CPU libraries, particularly Thor's own CPU libraries that are available through MMU library by Thor, you need a special workaround because the Apollo itself sets up its own MMU table, and there's a special command you've got to set up in your MMU configuration to allow MMU library to work. But assuming you have done all of those three things, then there is still a problem. And the problem is this, which is, although the machine will boot, it is in fact incredibly slow to get going. I assume that's because of the Apollo firmware, checking the ROM, moving into RAM, setting up MMU tables, things like that. I don't know. I haven't looked into it. I'm only guessing about that. But what happens is you hit the on switch and expect the computer to start, but nothing happens for the next 30 seconds before the hard drive lights and then goes through the boot process. So that's 30 seconds of hanging around when nothing appears to be happening, and you could think that the machine's not working at all in that time period. And of course, if you want to use any of the non-standard modules that didn't come in the ROM chip that you've installed on the motherboard, then you need to patch those in. And of course, that probably triggers a second boot to sort of bring those modules into action. And of course, then you've got another 30-second wait. So this machine, although it is rather wonderful to have an A3000T with that processor card in it, although it does work, it now takes 2 minutes to get into Workbench, and that is just too long as far as I'm concerned. So the grand plan is to put the Freeway card in here. That will give me USB, but I'm hoping also that the flashrom will enable me to install the modules that I generally use, which are the 3.9 modules, Amiga OS 3.9, install them on the flashrom on the Freeway card, and then do a single boot to Workbench. I will still have one 30-second delay while the Apollo firmware gets going, but I think that's kind of unavoidable. That at least is better than two 30-second delays. So that's the plan. I think I just need to get to it. The machine is all put back together, and here we are back in Workbench. And I think it's time to start trying to get the USB functionality working first. So what I've done already is in the devs folder, I have already put in the device driver here for the Freeway Pro USB device. So that's already in the right place. And what's more, I have previously installed Trident and the Poseidon stack. So hopefully if I just get that going there and hit controllers new and select my Freeway Pro device and then put it online, that is come online there, so that's looking good. And let's just have a quick look at devices. So I've got my Freeway Pro root hub working, so that is looking very promising. What I'm going to do though is to move the mouse so I'm not getting those bubble pop-ups, but what I am going to do is plug a USB thumb drive into the end of the USB extension cable I've got from running around the back of the computer here, and just let that go, and that is doing something. So there's my flash disk has opened up there. So let me just get rid of all of that so we can actually see some stuff. And Amiga USB, so there is my flash drive, and here is a file I happen to put on there, which is Rift. So it looks as though this is all working fine. So let me just put Rift up here, transfer that across. It's quite a big set of files. That is, of course, the Black Lotus demo, one of their demos. So just transfer that across just to prove that the flash drive via USB is actually working properly, which it looks like it absolutely is. So that's step one complete, which is a big relief. The USB functionality working absolutely perfectly there. I guess one of the other things you might be wondering is just exactly how fast is the USB interface. So let's just give that a quick test with my thumb drive plugged in here. Let me find sysspeed, and then I need to get to my not test prefs. Where am I? Not there either. Prefs. Global prefs. That's what I'm looking for. And switch that over to my UMSD drive, and then do my drive tests, and we'll see how fast this is. First the file operations there. Now we're going to get some data rates. So what's that? Just about 1 megabyte a second to create, and then a little bit slower to write a file, read a file 1 megasecond. And this is with a fast 060 in here. Obviously the CPU speed is going to have a bearing. So, you know, this is not a fast drive as things go, but not too shabby, I suppose, for USB. And certainly never going to be as fast as a DNEB card, for example, which can use DMA in some circumstances at any rate, but they're as rare as hen's teeth, so not really likely to get hold of one of them very easily. One thing I did try out with the Freeway card was a USB sound device. This breakout box here providing me with various jack sockets to plug in lots of speakers, and then USB at the other end. Just a way of getting sort of higher quality sound than Paula can manage out of the Amiga. Actually, it doesn't work. Got complaints from AHI not working. And that led me to contact Mattymuc, who created the Freeway card, just to ask about that. It turns out the Freeway does not support USB audio, and he said that the only cards that do are the Rapid Road and the DNEB card. And the reason for that is that you need a special mode apparently in USB to guarantee the high and I think consistent data rate to support audio through USB, which kind of makes sense. You don't want lots of breaks in the sound as you're playing music, sound, voice, whatever it is, games. You've got to guarantee the good data rate through USB, and that is not supported on the Freeway card, I'm afraid. So this is out, but all the other sorts of devices, mice, keyboards, thumb drives, work perfectly well through the Freeway card. Well, that's the USB side of things. It's time to move on from that now and look at the flashrom aspects. And the first thing I need to do is install Luciferin, because that's the tool that I'm going to use to flash the ROM. And I do actually need a special version of Luciferin, version 4.4, which is adapted to allow for the specific flash ROM chip that's on the Freeway card. If you use an earlier version, apparently it doesn't work. So version 4.4 is what I need, and this is going to de-archive the installer. So let's just get on and do that. And that has successfully done all that. So now install Luciferin. And where do I want it? Probably not there. So let me stick it in my tools folder, drawer, and yeah. And let's have some help files. That looks good, and yeah, I think I shall probably want all of that lot. So let's just proceed with all of that and all of that. Why not have everything available? Not sure I know what all of these things are, but let's just install them or sort it out later. Do I want to extract the ROM tags from the Amiga OS 3.5 and 3.9 system updates? I think I probably do, because my ultimate aim here is to use the AOS 3.9 modules on this machine via flashrom. So yes, all installed. Read the manual. That is probably a really good idea. But what the heck, let's not bother with that. Let's just get on and try it. So I can get rid of that and have a look in here, and somewhere luciferin ought to be here. Right, brilliant, there it is. So let's spark this up. Loading modules from default mods failed. I think that's okay, because I suspect that is because I haven't set anything up yet. And these are the lists of mods that were part of the installation process, so sort of helpful files, you might say, that will get us started. So that is one source of modules that I might want to add on to the flash ROM. But the other thing I might want to do is add in the ones that are part of the AOS 3.9 module, AOS 3.9 disk-based modules. So let's have a look for them. So they are stored in devs. Where are we? I was expecting devs kickstarts, but not there. No, so in Amiga OS ROM update, there they are there. Now what I've got to do is break this down into the appropriate modules, and the way to do that is through Remus that I mentioned before. So let's go into Remus and break down these ROM modules and then work out which ones I need to put on the flash ROM. So I've installed Remus, and also as part, well, it comes as a separate install, but it's part of the kind of the Remus family is Rom Split, because that's really what I need in order to split the update files for the Amiga OS 3.9 modules. So let's just go ahead and load those. So it's the load ROM button in ROM Split. Select my Amiga OS ROM update file, which is that one. And here it's very helpfully given me the list of ROM modules that's in that file. Now, not all of these are going to be relevant to me. It's only the ones that I'm really going to want to use that I'm concerned with. So, for example, you can see here with boot menu, there are at least, well, there are 3 different varieties of that. One that's especially for the A500 and one for the CD32. So I'm not interested in those. I am interested in the one for the 68020 and above, which is what I've got. I also want console device and exec for the A3000. A3000T is basically the same as the A3000, so that's what I want there. And file system resource, file system, don't care about the NCR SCSI device, RAM handler, ROM update. Now, SCSI.device update sounds like a really good idea, but I believe that that interferes with the Apollo card that I'm using. In fact, I have this suspicion, but I don't know this as a fact. I'm just guessing that what the Apollo firmware is doing is patching the A3000's own SCSI device in the Kickstart ROM, which is the reason why you need that patch cable. It is patching that for itself for reasons unknown, but just for compatibility with that card. So if I start fiddling with SCSI.device, I'm probably going to break all of that. So I think the simple thing is to ignore SCSI device for these purposes, although ordinarily perhaps a good idea to update that, and shell. So those are the ones I want, and I am going to go ahead and click extract files. Now, patch found for RAM handler 44.23, required to use RAM handler with Remus. This patch removes the BSS hunk to allow Remus to add it to ROM and saves a few bytes. It also applies the same fixes from Thomas Richter's Thor's patch RAM showing 100% full. Apply the patch. Well, I think that sounds like a really good idea because it's required to use the RAM handler with Remus. So yeah, I think I want to do that. So 8 files have been extracted. Excellent. So the question is, where's it put those? So let's go and have a look and see if I can nose around. And I suspect it's shut them in here in its modules folder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I think those are the files it talked about. It said 8, but I think the reason for that is I've got the original RAM handler here and then the updated version for no BSS. So it's 8 plus the alternate one makes 9. So here are my files that I want to put into ROM, or I should say flashrom. So let's have a go with that. I don't need all, let's keep that just in case. I can kind of minimize that a bit and close Rom Split and come back to luciferin here. So what I want to do is to add some files into my file list on this side. So what I need to do is to go and find where they are. So in Remus modules update, and I want all of these except this one here, which is the non-patch version. So let's go. I think it looks like I've got to do them one by one. So let's just do boot menu. And I am not in the right place here. So again, let's go up. I don't seem to remember where I was, which is a bit irritating. Console device. Let's just have another go at selecting multiple files. No, that's a bit irritating. I can only do one at a time. Add. It's going to be a little bit tedious to. Maybe I should just move the whole lot of them if I had a bit more sense. Exec. Try that again. Where am I? Remus modules. Exec. I've done file system resource. So that's 4, halfway there. File system. No, RAM handler, no BSS. Want that one. Modules. ROM update. And shell 45.7. Right, so that should be 8 files. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They are all there. I need to check my bootloader over here on the tab in luciferin. So I'm in the sort of standard mode, reinstall on every boot. That's what I want. And that will ensure, by the way, that I don't get this double boot thing going on by having that option. I think if you select permanently install at first boot, then you get a reboot, and that's exactly the thing I'm trying to avoid. So I want reinstall on every boot. It should flash, and I think it flashes green on a black background to just show it's loading from the flash ROM. So there's my list of files. And I think that I am done. So I'm now going to go and click. Actually, why don't I save a list? That sounds like an excellent idea. So I'm going to save this as Freeway OS 39 mods. And then I'm going to upload, which is going to flash them into the ROM. So yes, flash. And you can see down here, we've got some progress. flashrom has been updated. Clearing the reset vectors for kickmem and kick tags might be necessary for the new content to become active after a reboot. Do you want to clear these vectors now? Yeah, let's do that. And then let's just click on this tab, and this shows you what is actually in the flashrom. This would have been blank before I did the upload, but now that's showing all the modules that are in the ROM. So next step is to test this out. So let's just close some of these things just to make sure they're all flushed. And I'm going to restart this machine. Now, actually, there's not going to be any video to show you for all of this. You're just going to have to take my word for it on whether it works or not, because there's no real way to show you the output. So bear with me while I reboot this machine. It's going to be a cold reset. Turn it off, turn it back on again, see what happens. Wish me luck. Well, maybe it was inevitable, but that particular case did not work. I tried the modules, ROM modules there in the flashrom, rebooted, and actually I just got gurus from doing that. So I've tried a simpler example, and let me just go into Luciferin and show you what I'm using there. Let's have a look at the flashrom contents. So all I put on there at the moment is the A1000 jingle. So the A1000, when you start it up, just makes this little jingle musical tune when you turn the power on. That you can get as a little module and put it on the flashrom, which is all that's on there at the moment. Just to see if I can get the thing working at all with the Apollo card. And my bootloader is still this reinstall on every boot. So that's what's on the flashrom now. I'm just going to turn the machine off and try reboot it again so that you can see and hopefully hear that jingle does play. So at least some life is coming out of that flashrom, and it is actually working harmoniously with the Apollo card. Just as I do that, I'm going to swap over the video cable so you see the native video and the startup through native video rather than RTG, which is what we're looking at right now, so that you can see the color flash that you also get when the flashrom is uploading its modules. So bear with me while I just do that, and we'll see what it looks like. So I've rebooted. This will take a little time because of all the boot processes this machine goes through. And that was the little jingle that I was talking about. That's what plays on the A1000, so that's showing progress. Now we are starting up. So we've got into set patch. Set patch just doing its stuff, and we've finished set patch. And assigns and bind drivers, monitor drivers, and now we're going to try and switch over into the RTG. So this is where we're going to lose the screen, but that shows it is actually booting fine with that load module in place. So that gives me hope that the flashrom can coexist with the Apollo. I've just got to get the modules right and the setup right to try and avoid this double reboot business going on. So that was success just with the A1000 jingle in the flashrom. Really what I've got to do now is try those various other modules that are, to be honest, more helpful patches in and try and put them in the flashrom and see if I can still boot this machine with the Apollo card in there. I think that's going to be quite a laborious process, so I'm going to do that off camera, and I'll be back when I've worked out exactly how to get it all working. So more later. Now here's an interesting thing that I've discovered while I was trying to work out what ROM modules I can actually put into the flashrom. So here's the list of modules that I thought I have been using with OS 3.9 on the left here. But then I had a look at my startup sequence, and the crucial bit is here, where these are the modules that I'm actually loading. So things like the console.device, which corresponds with this module there. So that's all fine. But then I look further down, and actually I've commented out this bit here where I'm loading a new exec library and the Amiga OS ROM update. So it looks as though I've actually deliberately taken them out of the list of load modules that normally get run as part of OS 3.9. And I guess I did that in order to simply get the Apollo to boot at all. So I'm actually now thinking that I should take them out of here. Otherwise, I'm going to have a lot of problems because if I couldn't get them to boot in a sort of a software environment, there's no way I'm going to get them to boot properly in flashrom. So let me try it without those. I think the rest of these do correspond with things that I do actually sort of soft load as load modules here. So I've got like file system resource is this one here. So I think the rest of it is probably okay. But that was a bit of a surprise to find exec library and Amiga OS ROM update I had actually removed. All it goes to show, check out the stuff before you start. But yeah, must confess I didn't do that. So I'll try this, see how far I get. This is going to be a little bit of a test. I have uploaded some modules and now I'm cold rebooting this machine, so complete power off and power back on again. And let's just see what happens. Oh, and by the way, we are looking at the native Amiga video here, so this should give us some clues if there are any error messages or gurus or something that pop up. Should be able to see those, as well as the flashrom trying to load the modules, hopefully. And I don't know if you heard that, but that played the jingle, and moreover did the green flash that showed that the modules were loading, and then it did a load module again because I did leave some of the load modules in software. So it's just loaded those and then rebooted, which again, not surprising, but the fact is we are making progress, I think. Green flash, and again the little jingle. Not sure if the jingle is being picked up on this mic, but it did play the jingle, and we are now into set patch. So this is looking promising. Not quite resolved everything yet, but definitely making progress, it would seem. And set patch is completed, so we're on our way to booting into Workbench. So it looks like this is heading in the right direction. I think I just need to fiddle around with it a little bit more to get those modules completely tuned, and then I can get rid of that extra boot cycle, hopefully. This is where I've got to with my modules. You can see them all on the left here. I've added in things like potgo.resource in here, and then commented that out. Where is it? Devs potgo resource here. I've edited that out with the semicolon out of my startup sequence. So I am hoping that's the complete list now, and this will reboot in a single cycle. So let me just upload that lot. And hopefully this just shows how easy it is to update modules using Luciferin and the flashrom. You really do just select them from a menu, save the list if you want to, but then click upload and it's done. It's very simple to use software once you've got your head around what it is that you're trying to do. pretty straightforward. All right, let's close all that down. Make sure I have saved startup sequence, which I have. And I think we're ready to rock and roll. So again, I am going to do a cold boot here and just see if this comes straight into Workbench. I think for the sake of not having to run around changing over cables, I will leave this in RTG. So won't be a lot to look at until we actually boot into Workbench, if that's what actually happens. So wish me luck, and here goes. Powering off. There's Workbench. So that has worked. So the only thing remaining then is quite why there was that extra boot, which I appreciate you didn't see on camera. There was an extra boot cycle, which I think was the flashrom loading its modules and then rebooting the system. Now, as the whole idea here was to try and eliminate one of the boot cycles, I have failed on that. But maybe that is something I can fix. So a little bit more work required here to see if I can just cut out one of those boot cycles. In order to make some progress with this double reset thing that's going on, and seemingly the first one of those resets actually being done by the flashrom, I thought I'd just have a read of the luciferin docs, and there's some interesting stuff here on bootloaders. So just by way of reminder, our bootloader is the reinstall on every boot bootloader that I've got going here, and this is what the luciferin docs say about that. It will not reset the machine if there aren't any ROM tags with higher priority, so over 105, than the Zorro diag in it. Now, that's kind of double negative in that sentence. So, but what I think it's saying is if all your ROM tags are under 105, then it won't reset the machine. So here are my priorities of my modules, and the highest one is 104, which is less than 105. So on the face of it, that would say to me that actually this is not going to cause a reset, except it does. So what's going on there? I just wonder whether it's this jingle. I mean, that's the one with the highest priority at 104. That's pretty close to this cutoff. So it could be that that's causing the second boot. Otherwise, it's a bit difficult to see why I'm getting this reboot thing going on. Certainly, there doesn't seem to be an obvious option in the bootloader configuration to change that. So all a little bit mysterious. Let me continue to work this one and see where I get to. Well, after quite a bit of faffing around with different alternatives, this is where I've got to, which is actually to leave everything as I had it. I did try and remove some of these higher priority modules at the start here just to see if that would make a difference given what the luciferin docs have been saying. Actually, it didn't. The machine does do a double boot, and I think I just have to accept that as a compromise. The fact is it does double boot on a cold restart, but on a warm reboot it's only straight through, so no sort of second boot on a warm restart, which is an improvement over where I had it before, where it did a sort of double boot regardless, even on a warm restart. So that has improved things quite a bit. And I might have a think about what other modules I want to put in the flashrom here. Now I've got the basic functionality working, you know, what other things might I want to put in here to just improve the quality of life experience, or whatever it's supposed to be called these days. That's certainly something I shall be looking at. Just one other thing before we leave luciferin to point out, which is if you install modules here and for some reason the flashrom doesn't work at all, you've always got this sort of deactivation mode here on the bootloader tab. Deactivation, if you hold down the left or middle mouse button, if you happen to have a 3-button mouse, but really left mouse button, that will deactivate the flashrom and enable you to boot back into Workbench, where you can reset your list of modules and try again. but this is really helpful. This got me through the problems I was having at one stage where the machine wouldn't boot at all, and I just got gurus with it. Actually, deactivation helped. By the way, there are other possibilities here: left mouse button, the middle mouse button, etc., etc., and including turning that off. But I really don't recommend that, because then you are locked into whatever it is that you have got on the flash ROM, and if that doesn't work, you could be in a whole world of strife. Anyway, that brings me towards the end of this video. The Freeway Pro is now happily installed in this machine, providing me with USB functionality and that flash ROM, so I can add modules to what is available on the Kickstart ROM chip, which is exactly what I wanted from the start. It really is a very affordable and helpful card, great addition to the array of cards that we've got available for the Amiga. So that brings me to the end. Hope you've enjoyed watching this video. Hit subscribe if you did, and watch out for me next time. Thanks for joining.